Hi creative friends, this is Freya and thank you so much for being here. So I allow this to completely dry, and one of the great things about letting things dry naturally is that you get the most beautiful feels of color. I'm gonna bring this up closer over here and just look at this deliciousness. I'm gonna bring it up close, but not too close. But can you see that? Like, especially on her closed eyes over there, can you see all that luscious ink that dried? And I mean, ugh. Now, the heating tool does have its place, and I have used it. I actually have like 2 or 3 of those heating tools. But honestly, you guys, just if you allow your stuff to dry naturally, or if you are in a hurry and it's hot outside, if you leave it out in the sun to dry, you are going to get a completely different type of effect. Because if I had to use a heating tool on this, I'm not going to get all of this luscious, beautiful, deep irregularities. Like, it's just, you can't replicate it. So anyways, I'm just gonna jump right in, and one of the things I want to kind of go more into is talking about values and temperature. So this grayscale and value finder over here is a really useful tool, and honestly, you guys, it's like I want to say it's like under $2. It's really quite cheap. It might be $3 at the most, but this is just such a valuable tool. And basically, value just means the lightness or the darkness of something. And so I'm going to use this as an example, but like, okay, so the parts of her face that are going to recess. So if you take your finger, if you're drawing a face, if you take your finger and you run it over your facial features, the parts that go in, that is going to be darker. It just is. It's when you're drawing it or painting it, those are the parts that are going to be darker and cooler. And the parts that are going to pop out, so say the nose, etc., those are generally going to be lighter and warmer. And that's whether you're doing a still life, a landscape, or whatever. And what I would recommend is, if you have the opportunity to go to a museum and look at like, not art prints, but the authentic piece of art, because usually when you look at a print, you can pick up on it, but it's just more obvious when you look at an original. And the reason for that is because when you print stuff, it does tend to flatten everything out. But if you go to a museum and you just look at any piece of art, it could be a portrait, it could be landscapes, it could be an abstract, it could be anything. Now, abstracts are a little more tricky because sometimes people, artists, they want to play with space, like Picasso did that a lot, and so did Dali. But generally speaking, if it's back, if it's recessed, so just say you have a whole bunch of trees in the background and it's like really far away off in the distance, well, generally those trees are going to be darker and they're going to be cooler. And just say you have some flowers in the foreground, well, those flowers are going to be warmer, and they're going to be warmer in temperature, and they're going to be lighter in value. So that's like a really kind of an easy way to, if you are going to be painting faces, to see what's going to be pushed back and what's going to come forward. And this over here, all you do is you just lay it against the scale. So I'm going to use, I don't know if the camera is going to be able to pick up on this, but say this luscious little piece of the purple ink over here. I'm going to kind of lay it on here, and I'm just going to kind of see, okay, it's not like black, and I think it's too dark for this one. So I would put it at a value 2. That's what I would put this at. Now, it's not going to be 100% exact, but it's going to give you a good idea. Like, obviously this is too dark for this, and you can see it. Like I said, I don't know if the camera's picking up on it, but this tool is so useful. So what I'm going to do here is I am now going to mix my purple my gorgeous deep violet purpley purple ink, I'm gonna mix it with my cashew chalk paint, and I'm also gonna mix it with this chalk paint and ink. I'm gonna just mix little bits of it on my palette, and then I'm going to, like I said, the parts that are going to recess, I'm gonna put the purpley black parts, and then the parts that are gonna pop forward, I'm gonna use the chalk paint. So we're just gonna experiment here and kind of, you know, that's the whole purpose of me doing this video, really, is like I'm experimenting, and I'm just kind of seeing what I can, like how far I can push my values here. Ooh, now when I mix it with the black, it is really luscious. Oh my goodness. So that part is going to recess, and I'm actually even going to use it for, say, the eyelashes, and I think that's going to add some depth to it and beauty. And actually, I am even going to use some of the, it's ink, but it you know, you can call it black or you can call it Payne's gray. The interesting thing about color is when you think about white, there are actually like 200 million different hues of white. And you'll know this if you go into a paint store, and not just an artist paint store, but even if you go into, say, like a home, like a home depot or something like that, and you go to the paint section, there are so many different hues of white. And the same thing is true for, I guess, any color, but, you know, even say but what we would call a black, there are so many different hues and shades and temperatures. It's not like there's black and, you know, that's one color. It's not. And so I'm just kind of like trying to push my values here. And I feel like I'm focusing too much on this lady, and I'm kind of neglecting this lady over here. So let me kind of come over here and start working on her. So you guys, one of the best ways to really learn about any one element in art, so just say you want to learn about composition, or just say you want to learn about value or temperature of colors or whatever it is, lines, etc. One of the best ways to do that is to, well, to look at original art, first of all, because like I said, a lot gets lost, you know, when you print stuff. And printing now is actually quite advanced, and some of the stuff I've seen printed has been really amazing. So, you know, printing has gotten a lot better due to technology. That being said, nothing compares to the original, if you are, you know, if you can see original art. But one of the things is to isolate the painting. So isolate aspects in the painting. And you can learn so much by doing that. So what I mean by that is, you know, instead of looking at this piece, I'm going to use this as an example because it's right here. But, you know, instead of looking at this as like a face, like really like take things apart, like isolate it and look at, say, the colors. Where are the colors? What is the temperature of the colors? You know, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, you can do this for anything. You can do this for line, for anything. And it doesn't have to be like portrait painting, you know, it can be anything. It can be abstract, but just really, you know, find art that you are drawn to, and even, you know, art that you might not be drawn to. You actually can learn a lot from art that you don't like. You might even be able to learn more from those pieces. They're going to inform you about your visual language, etc. And then just isolate things and look at it. And, you know, when I posted the video of Jacob Lawrence and his composition, like you can learn so much about composition by isolating his paintings and just looking at the shapes that he's using and how he's using those shapes and how he's using those shapes to tell a particular story, to elicit a particular emotional response, a feeling, a thought, a memory, to tell a story. I mean, you can just learn so much. It's craziness. Okay. And what I am going to do here is I am going to use this purpley ink here to kind of like make her upper lip here. So you guys, I have to say that I am actually quite proud of myself for using this purple. Now, this does tend to be more a purple that I do love because, you know, it's not like a chalky kind of a lighter colored purple, but purple is a difficult color for me to kind of not only use, but then to integrate it with other colors in a way that I like. So the fact that I am using purple is actually a win for me in a way that I actually am liking this. I'm really loving so much about this. So, you know, it really, when you push yourself and really kind of try to use different colors that you wouldn't normally use, etc. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some of this purple with my chalk paint here in Cashew, and this is, now see, this is like, let me show you here. This is this is a purple that I am not really digging. Like that is, you can't, I don't know if you can even see it, but it's like a chalky, like a pinky purple, and I don't like this purple. So this is gonna be a bit of a challenge for me to use, but we're just gonna go ahead and kind of do it. So remember now, the lighter parts are the parts that kind of like pop out a little bit from the face. And so this part of the eye, like it's kind of like the it's like the part of the, how can I put this? So if you close your eyes and run your fingers over your closed eyelid, it's the part that's gonna pop out because your eyeball is behind it. So that is going to be, that's going to be lighter and a warmer color. So this is kind of a, this is not a warmer color, but it is lighter in value. So I might need to like put a warmer color in there. But do you see how, like, normally I wouldn't think of putting this, like, I don't like this lighter purple. I wouldn't think of using this on a face, but it doesn't look weird. I might not like it because it's not like part of my visual language and the colors that I tend to like, but it doesn't look weird, which goes back to what I was saying about how when I took, I think it was a portrait class or a color class, and the teacher said, you know, it doesn't matter what color you use as long as the value is correct. And I do find that is true. And I'm just gonna drop some of this burnt sienna ink here. And if, you know, if you really wanted to experiment, you can like even use a, like, okay, this purple can totally go for her cheeks. Like that, you know, that can be a cheek color. But just say you were going to be using green, for instance. Now, green is not generally considered a color you would find on, say, cheeks. But I have seen the most beautiful, evocative portrait paintings where green is used in the portrait in the most masterful way. And the person who comes to mind is Van Gogh. He used a lot of greens in his portraits of like self-portraits, or even, and it's not even gender specific, like he painted a lot of women, and he uses green in their faces in a masterful way. Now, at the time, it was considered like really what's the word? They considered it like really outrageous, I guess, is a good way of putting it. And it wasn't considered acceptable at all. But of course, present day, I mean, he's considered to be a genius in his use of color. So yeah, you can do lots of interesting things. So I think I'm just gonna leave it like this. I haven't worked on this face as much, but I don't want this video to go on too long. I just wanted to illustrate how you can use colors that you wouldn't normally use, and you can push them, you can experiment with them. I totally recommend getting this grayscale and value finder. I purchased mine from Dick Blick, and like I said, it's gonna be like $2 or $3. And it's so useful. It is so helpful because all you do is you just place it against different colors, and now you can see what value it is. So anyways, you guys, I hope that this video has been helpful in some way, and I hope it has pushed you to think a little bit outside the box when it comes to color. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.